So somehow, in America, politics as usual is people being really desperate and stealing from each other. Um, there's a crazy carjacking epidemic happening all across the country. People are going to like Toyota Priuses and stealing like the electric converter shit from their cars. People are like running around stealing Hondas and Hyundais. This is wild out here in the streets, and in Chicago, it's happening so wild that they're actually able to develop statistics and actually figure out who the fuck is doing it and why, and it's really complicated. It's not as simple as like what the media is going to make it really simple, just like crazy desperate people stealing shit, but in reality it's way more complicated. This is the other side. This is actually what the media is going to say, like scaring people, stealing your Honda, stealing your Chevy, stealing your Ford. The usual cars get stolen. So what's happening here is the stats are kind of, I'm going to switch to another article. These stats that they're talking about here with the 370 people, 370 carjackings, the numbers that we see in this article are kind of overblown in some ways. And like the police a lot of times like to use stories, even though there might be crime issues, but they like to overblow it even further and like obfuscate it and make it seem like it's outrageous, and they want to bring the tanks in and not really go to the root cause of why people are desperate enough to grab people out their cars and drive off, knowing that they're going to get arrested sooner or later. Because it's harder. It's not like the 60s when you could steal a fucking car and never be seen again. Like these cars have GPS. These cars have all kinds of shit. So I want to switch to this next article that pretty much breaks down what's happening. So that article kind of fear mongers you. It tells you that if you drive a Ford, you better watch out. Someone's going to knock you in the head and take your car. But here it kind of humanizes it. It makes you realize that, okay, it is a problem, but the problem is way more complicated. So I want to flip this article, which pretty much says, politics of fear. Are youth really to blame for the carjacking spike in Chicago? So pretty much right now, the media is depicting it as kind of like angry black kids running out in the streets, joyriding, beating people up.
Oh, it's more than that. It's more than that. There was a law that they wanted to pass in that area of Illinois to ban the video game Grand Theft Auto because he wanted to blame the video game for the rising rates of carjackings in Chicago. So the sad part is that Grand Theft Auto 5 has been around for about a decade, but the Rona has only been around for about a year when they first started seeing the spikes. But don't blame the economic conditions in these inner cities. Don't blame the economic conditions. I want to draw down, blame a video game that's been out for a decade already.
Because these stories usually they try to scare white people the most with these stories, but in reality, most of the carjackings are happening in black people jacking other black people.
And you know what I think they're really doing?
It's like, but somehow white people get scared, and then
you know what I think it really is. It's not even about white people getting scared. It's about making sure that the white people maintain their racial bias against black people to keep the moneymaker going. The profit margins are created by the white distrust and the white disgust of black people. So if you continue to keep pumping out these stories and say, well, these statistics say this, when you go to talk to a racist who's never been around a black person, they'll point to these skewed statistics and say, well, look at all the carjackings in Chicago. Well, look at all the murders in Chicago. But then nobody ever wants to break down what's leading to these things. They want to point at video games. They want to point at rap music. But they don't want to point at the fact that the economic conditions have worsened significantly in the time where the carjackings were happening, where the murders were happening.
So I really want to say, like you said, like people are the kids that engage with the world playing Real 5 Grand Theft Auto. Somehow they blame, like you said, they blame video games. They blame all these different shit before what the reality is, these lot of children have obviously these people have unmet mental health issues. Right. That you're taking a risk to go throw someone out their car and take
a lot of those kids are playing Fortnite. Are they running around with pickaxes tearing down people's houses and then building fucking platforms to the fucking sky? No. They're not doing that.
So rather than deal with the root cause of like these like children who have no supportive issues, no supportive systems, nothing like that is happening. The always discussion is always like, how can we punish these people harder? There's always that's the discussion that happens. How can we punish people even harder than we were punishing them before?
Yeah, because that's definitely a deterrent. I mean, we haven't already seen study after study after study that says that uh, 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 punishments are not deterrents to crime. They never have been. Whether the death penalty was a potential penalty or a slap on the wrist, if somebody wants to do something they ain't supposed to do, that's exactly what the fuck they're gonna do.
And this article really puts like a really deep, really like sincere, deep, like kind of quote from here that I want to pull up about this idea of this punishing the shit out of people, which you already do. What people believe regarding young people is that the ability to send them to adult court or give them lengthy or harsh assistances is at least a deterrent from some kinds of behavior. And the science is pretty clear that that isn't true. Throwing the book at these kids doesn't do anything. In fact, you probably made even more crazier criminals. I mean,
Yep, because
future.
once they get in the system, it's
So,
hard to get them away from it.
so when it comes to kids that age, what a lot of times it's like a grandma finding out, it's like a relative finding out that someone the parents that they care about the most, and seeing them do bad behavior that makes them feel bad. Um, that's what actually like um, the calculations that people have in their mind. Like it has here every time, everything that comes after rest is so remote in the mind of a young person. It doesn't really enter the calculation. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, it was almost like a badge of honor to get locked up. You know, it was like it's cool to be like to get the bid. You know, get that
It's
honor.
still like that from what I've seen.
So kids already in that crazy mindset. So punishing them, what that's gonna do? You know, like what are you gonna do when people think like that? You know,
That's like sending them to criminal college.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
really what it is.
Yeah, we call it criminal university. You know, like when you think that way, that mindset. We have a lot of children who are very impulsive due to a lifetime of trauma and poverty. Trauma stunts the part of your growth and development. White kids from the north side don't grow up seeing their kids and family die from overdose. They don't see these things. I mean, people in other communities, richer communities, black or white, they don't have to deal with like trauma of these things every day. And you have these kids roaming the streets with nothing to do. Um,
No
so
guidance,
no
no hope.
guidance.
Another thing is hope for the future is a big thing.
Yeah,
You
you
know, it
def-
changes your mindset when you have something to shoot for, something to hope for. You've got examples of people who are successful. You know, all of these things have an effect on the decisions that you make. You know, if you don't think that your life matters, if you don't think that your neighbor's life matters, you're gonna go out there just hey, whatever, doesn't
yeah.
matter. You
And
know,
if you and if you
they don't really
haphazardly
have a
stealing,
sense for what a life and a
exactly.
life that is being lived. They don't have a sense for the value of that because that's not what they see around them.
Exactly. If you haphazardly carjacking, you definitely don't know. You definitely don't have like a belief in the future because like that is like the most haphazard crime you can fucking do as a kid. You know, you're not making any money out of it. You might not, especially nowadays. I mean, um, so it's tragic that I like this analysis that really breaks down in Chicago, especially Chicago, because this is like the thing that people always like to bring up. What about Chicago? What about
Yep.
Chicago? What about Chicago? So here in Black
It's
Power
okay.
Magic
This
Hour,
officer murdered this man for no reason because of Chicago.
so that's why I want to bring up that compare and contrast stories. While the Chicago Tribune is like telling you to be scared that all the kids are going to come and kill you and take your Honda, another story is giving you more analysis that these are troubled people
You should
and
have got a
like
BMW anyway.
and throwing the book at people. Yeah, it's hard to steal. So throwing the book at people doesn't do righteous for the community. It actually just makes the community even worse.
That was not a shill for BMW.
Okay.
I
Sponsored by
had I had a
BMW.
chance to get one. I had a chance to order one recently. I decided against it. I just threw that out there. So I don't want anybody out there to think I'm shilling for BMW. That was a nice first car to have, but I'm just saying it just wasn't a Honda. That's just the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, people like to steal those Hondas and those Hyundais and those Fords and those Ford Fusions.
That's
Those
why the insurance on those cars tend to be higher than even some of the higher end cars.
yeah, like why am I paying so much for a Ford Taurus? So that's politics as usual. It's a crazy story. Hopefully we follow what's going on. Follow us on Black Power Magic Hour on Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch and YouTube, and then Dr. Regine, he's live on Facebook Twitch, and YouTube, Discord. And that's politics as usual, carjacking edition.